She's a failure. Always has been. That's what my mother told the entire family when I left for grad school. She said it again when I didn't show up to Christmas. And again, when I didn't send money for my sister's third DUI bail. But I was there at the trial. Quiet. Uninvited. Sitting in the last row. My name is Dana. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever been erased by your own family, only to return so powerful they couldn't even say your name? The courtroom was packed. My sister sat in a neat blouse, pretending to be innocent. My mother clutched her purse, whispering something about how this would all go away. And I sat alone, hands folded, jaw still. I had no intention of speaking. I just came to watch them. The same people who called me dramatic, ungrateful, invisible. The judge entered. He was mid-50s. Serious. One of those faces that didn't flinch even during murder trials. He skimmed through the file, glasses low on his nose, then paused. He looked up, scanned the room. His eyes landed on me. Stuck there. He squinted, then leaned slightly toward the mic and whispered, loud enough to shatter the silence. Wait, dear Governor Dana Walsh? You could have heard a pin drop. My sister's lawyer stammered. The court clerk dropped his pen. Even the bailiff turned. But my mother? She went pale. I didn't stand. I didn't smile. I just looked at the judge and nodded once. He straightened his posture immediately. We're done here, he said. This case is no longer being handled the way your family expected. Because the daughter they labeled a failure, the one they never invited, never supported, never respected, was the most powerful person in the room. And suddenly, their silence wasn't passive. It was fear. The air in the courtroom changed, sharp, electric. Like everyone had just realized they were standing too close to lightning. The judge cleared his throat. He addressed the room with new weight in his voice. I'd like to request a brief recess. But what he really meant was, what the hell is she doing here? Because governors don't just show up to routine DUI cases. Especially not in disguise. No security detail, no staff, no announcement. But I didn't come as a politician. I came as the daughter they threw away. As the sister they used for contrast. As the woman who was told, repeatedly, you're not one of us. I watched my mother lean toward my sister and hiss through clenched teeth. You didn't tell me she was coming. My sister didn't reply. She didn't need to. She just kept her eyes on the floor, suddenly remembering every time she mocked my campaign behind my back. Every Thanksgiving where she toasted her new job, while I sat in silence after working 80-hour weeks as a public servant. They thought I'd never make it past city council. They said I was boring, cold, too serious. But cold girls climb quietly, and when they reach the top, they don't shout. They decide. The judge walked over to me during recess. He took off his glasses. Governor, I had no idea. If I had known. I stopped him gently. I'm not here in any official capacity. I'm just observing. He nodded, but the message was clear. This case was no longer a family embarrassment. It was a career liability for him. The whispers started before the hearing resumed. Reporters in the hallway. Law clerks pretending not to stare. Even the opposing counsel leaned in and asked my mother, "Is that the Governor Walsh?" She didn't answer. Because how do you explain disowning a daughter, only to watch her become the most powerful name on the docket? And me? I sat there, quiet, still, unapologetic. Because I didn't come to flex power. I came to remind them, I am power. Court resumed. But the air was different now. Not a soul could look me in the eye. The judge returned to the bench, suddenly cautious. Measured. He read through the file like it had just turned radioactive. My sister sat up straighter, her lawyer whispering furiously beside her. My mother? Still frozen. Still pale. Still clutching that purse like it held an explanation. Because here's what no one tells you. When a woman rises in silence, the people who mocked her have no script for the moment she turns back around. They were still trapped in the story where I was the family disappointment. The one who wasn't pretty enough, social enough, obedient enough. The girl who read too much and smiled too little. The one who left home and never looked back. But I didn't leave empty-handed. I took every wound, every insult, every time they said I wasn't enough, and I turned it into policy. I turned it into power. While they threw parties for my sister's failed business ventures, I sat in war rooms fixing the healthcare system. While they gossiped about how I couldn't keep a man, I rebuilt housing programs that kept thousands of families off the street. And now here I was, their failure, in a tailored navy suit, with the entire room standing still in my presence. The judge finally looked up. This case is being reassigned. Effective immediately. I will not be proceeding further. Conflict of interest. Translation? He didn't want the fallout. He knew this wasn't just another DUI hearing anymore. It was now attached to my name. My sister's mouth opened. Finally. Dana, please. I turned to her. Slowly. Now you remember my name. Silence. Because that's what guilt sounds like when it finally recognizes the person it tried to erase. I stood. I didn't storm out. I didn't gloat. I just turned to the bailiff and said, I'm done observing, and walked straight down the aisle, every pair of eyes following me, including the ones that once looked away when I needed them most. Because when you spend a lifetime underestimated, you don't have to slam the door when you leave. You become the building. Outside the courtroom, the press was waiting. They didn't know why I was there. Not yet. But someone had tipped them off that Governor Dana Walsh had been seen at a misdemeanor DUI trial. Microphones. Flashes. A whirlwind of questions. Governor Walsh, are you involved in this case? Is there a personal connection to the defendant? Can you confirm if the woman on trial is your sister? I didn't flinch. Didn't run. Didn't hide. I looked one reporter square in the eyes and said calmly, I was attending as a private citizen. No further comment. And I walked. Straight through the crowd. Through the cameras. Through the noise. Just like I always had. Because when you've spent your life being talked over, you learn to move with purpose, not permission. Back in the car, my phone lit up with missed calls. Mom, 3. Clara, my sister, 8. Unknown numbers, 12. They were spiraling. I could feel it. And still I didn't pick up. Instead, I turned to my driver. Take me to the state office. Because I had a meeting to lead. On foster care reform. A system my mother once said I wasn't emotionally stable enough to understand. And now I was rewriting it. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally opened my sister's texts. Dana, I'm sorry. You could have helped me. You could have warned me. Warned her? Warned her that I had survived years of being treated like the family embarrassment, that I turned shame into strategy, that while they mocked me, I was memorizing everything they stood for. So, I'd never build anything like it?
No.
I owed her nothing, but I did reply. You had their protection. I had their silence. You were raised to believe the world owed you grace. I was raised to believe I owed it everyone else. Now we're both grown women. And this time, I chose me. Delivered.
Read.
No response. The silence tasted better than any apology they could offer. Because this time, I wasn't the forgotten daughter in the back row. I was the headline. The one who outgrew their story. And started writing her own. The next morning, headlines hit every feed. Governor Dana Walsh attends sister's trial, legal system shaken. Family drama at the bench. Walsh's silent message echoes louder than words. They didn't have the full story. They didn't need it. Because the photo just one said it all.
Me.
Standing quietly in the courtroom aisle. My mother frozen in shock. My sister turning toward me, mid-plea. The judge rising from his seat. That single image went viral. And suddenly, people started asking the real question. What kind of family ignores their daughter until the world doesn't? I didn't say a word publicly. Let the media speculate. Let my family sweat. Because silence had always been their weapon. Now it was mine. That afternoon, I received a call from a blocked number. I answered out of curiosity. It was my mother. Her voice was brittle, polite, exhausted. Dana, I didn't know. I didn't know how far you'd come. We, your father, and I, we thought you were just avoiding us. I stayed quiet.
She went on.
Your sister is in trouble. Real trouble. They're talking about revoking her license permanently. She might do jail time. You could help. Just say something. I looked out my office window at the Capitol lawn below.
Clean. Quiet.
Controlled. And said, you called me a failure. For years. And now that I succeeded without your support, you want me to erase the consequences of your favorite's choices. Mom whispered, she's your sister. No, I said gently. She was your golden girl. Now she's just an adult with a record. Then I ended the call. No yelling. No grand declaration. Just truth. Because for years, I begged them to see me. And when they refused, I became someone they couldn't look away from. Later that night, I received an email from the judge himself. Subject: regarding your sister's case. He explained the new handling judge had no intention of leniency. He thanked me for maintaining neutrality. He closed with this: what your presence did in that room will be studied in law schools. Not because of what you said, but because of how many people finally listened. And for the first time, I believed it. My silence was louder than all their years of noise. By the end of the week, Clara's sentence was finalized. License revoked. Probation assigned. Fines stacked so high her lawyers started asking for character witnesses. That's when they called in favors. Aunt Lydia reached out first. Always the family mediator. Dana, sweetheart, your mother is devastated. Your sister is humiliated. Isn't that enough? Enough? Was it enough when they whispered behind my back at every holiday dinner? When I got into grad school and Mom told everyone it was just a phase? When they called me cold, calculated, and career-obsessed because I wasn't smiling for their applause? No, Aunt Lydia. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about accountability. Clara didn't just have a drinking problem. She had an entitlement problem, fueled by a family who never held her to the same standard they buried me beneath. Now that standard had a name, a title, and power that didn't beg for validation. That night, I sat with my chief of staff reviewing policy briefs. Midway through, she looked at me and said, "Governor, you okay?" I paused. Because yes, I was okay. For the first time in my life, I wasn't fighting to be seen. I was watching the same people who told me I'd never be anything suddenly whisper my name with caution. I closed my laptop and answered, "I'm more than okay. I'm free." And I meant it. Because freedom wasn't the power I gained from being governor. It was the moment I realized I never had to go back to beg for love from people who only valued control. My sister was learning now that a last name doesn't protect you from consequences, that the quiet one they dismissed became the one who signs the laws. That courtroom never called me again, but the state legislature did, asking if I'd speak on ethical leadership. And the photo of me at the trial, now framed in my office, a reminder that no matter how far they tried to bury me, I didn't just rise. I made the ground beneath them shake. A month later, I hosted a policy summit in D.C. Senators, governors, federal judges, even international observers, all gathered in the East Hall of the Capitol. I stood at the podium, flawless in navy, notes untouched, because the story I carried didn't need a script. I spoke about systemic privilege, about accountability, about how consequences don't discriminate but people do. I didn't name names, but those who'd read the headlines knew exactly who I was referencing, and those who hadn't felt it anyway. Afterward, I mingled politely, posed for photos, shook hands, until a soft voice stopped me from behind. "Governor Walsh?" I turned. It was Judge Levinson, the man from Clara's trial. He extended his hand. "May I say what you did that day? You didn't say a word, and somehow you still taught us all something." I smiled. "Silence," I said, "is a language. You just have to decide who deserves to understand it." He chuckled, nodded, walked away, and I stood there, letting the weight of that moment settle into my bones. Because years ago, I would have given anything for my family to clap for me. Now, I didn't need applause. I had peace. Then something unexpected happened. The summit coordinator handed me a note. "There's someone waiting downstairs. Says it's personal." I raised an eyebrow, but I already knew. I walked past marble columns, out into the golden dusk, and there she was. Clara. No makeup. Hair pulled back. For once, no performance. She stepped forward cautiously, clutching a manila envelope. "I'm not here to beg. I just wanted to say thank you
For not ruining me.
You could have destroyed everything." I tilted my head. "You were already doing that." She looked down. "I'm getting help. I'm trying." I didn't hug her, didn't comfort her, but I didn't turn away either. Instead, I said, "Then don't try for me. Try for the person you become when no one's watching. That's who matters now." She nodded, eyes glossy, and handed me the envelope. Old photos. From when we were little, before it all got complicated. Then she walked off, and I stood in front of the Capitol steps, envelope in hand, realizing something powerful. My story didn't need revenge. It needed clarity. They didn't break me. They built the exact kind of fire I'd one day lead with. Back home, I placed the envelope on my kitchen counter. Didn't rush to open it. Just watched it, like it might still bite. That night, I sat by the window with chamomile tea. No guards, no cameras, no headlines. Just me. And finally, I opened it. Inside were moments frozen in time. Clara and I as kids, laughing in the backyard sprinkler. Dad grilling, Mom pretending to care. One photo of me in oversized glasses, holding a science fair ribbon, standing alone. No one was clapping.
Not even them.
And still, I was smiling. Even back then, I knew how to celebrate myself. That little girl didn't need a crowd. She just needed someone to believe in her. And eventually she became that person. I stood up and framed that science fair photo, right next to my framed inauguration one. 2 girls staring back at me. One invisible, one undeniable.
And both me.
The next morning, I declined a call from my mother, then blocked it. Not out of anger, but because healing isn't about revenge. It's about choosing who still gets access to your peace. Clara's story wasn't mine to clean up, and my silence wasn't punishment. It was closure, because the woman they called cold built housing for the homeless. The girl they called dramatic wrote laws that protected children from abuse. The daughter they called a failure became a leader the nation now looked to in crisis. They wrote me out of the family. So I wrote myself into history, not with a scream, not with a crown, but with quiet, focused power. And a reminder to every forgotten daughter. You don't need their seat at the table. When the time comes, you build the room.